Hello, students. So today's topic is difference between active and passive listening. I'll be teaching you this topic. My name is Mokshi. So let's start with the topic. So before understanding what the listening is, we must understand what is the difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is a natural process. Hearing is a biological thing which is gifted to us. It has nothing to do with the deliberate efforts. It's not a skill, it's a biological thing we are born with. So it's a biological thing, whereas listening is a skill which you develop with time. If you want to develop, you can develop it with time. So you can put in effort and you can have better results with listening skills. So listening skill is a non-verbal activity in which by which we actually make a good impact on presentation, by which we can have a very good impression when we are giving any presentation. For suppose you are giving any presentation, or in a presentation you are uh, your audience is trying to say something, trying to communicate with you, and you want to answer that question. So at that time you have to give that impression that you are listening to that person very attentively. How you give that impression that you are listening to that person attentively, that is a very non-verbal thing. How you do that? It means that if a person is speaking in front of you, you cannot look here and there, looking anywhere outside the window or towards someone else, or playing with your keychain, or just scrolling your mobile. So don't distract yourself. If someone is speaking in front of you, listen to that person, looking into his eyes and just listening to each and every word and nodding your head very softly. And it should not look very artificial. It should be very softly nodding your head. That means that you are listening to a person. And sometimes it is also like that you must put in few questions. So you must put in some queries in between if you are asked. So it is like that you are listening to that person very attentively. Suppose you are giving a presentation and somebody from your audience, they ask you something. If you don't get that question and you are listening to them, you can also elaborate on it, that you did not get the question. You can ask them some another points of that, so that person would elaborate on it. And if that person has given the chance of elaborating on a certain thing, that person will also feel very connected to you, that you are listening to that person very attentively and you are giving your time to that person. So that is very important thing when you do that. And it actually establish a very good rapport between you and your audience. You are a listener or you are a speaker. When it comes to listen, then it must be very effective. It must be very active listening. It cannot be a passive listening. Just nodding the head and acting like that you are listening. This is a very classroom thing to do. You all understand that what the classroom thing is, that your professor is teaching and you are just nodding, although you're not listening, you are in the passive mode, but still you show with your non-verbal behavior that actively you are listening to that person, but it is not true. So this is the active listening. And in active listening, you understand one thing is very important: to pay attention, to make eye contact, to look at the person, the what person is speaking, nodding your head, giving non-verbal cues so that a person could be confident and could feel that you are into the conversation. Finally, giving some new insight to the person and coming to the conclusion where both of you agree. And this is how you can make a very active, very proper impact of yours in any um, presentation. Fine. So we are going with the definition. It's like active listening means mindful and actively hearing and attempting to comprehend the meaning of the speaker, whereas passive listening means showing like listening to the speaker but not making an attempt to comprehend the meaning. I hope you have understood this. Now, coming to listeners connect with the word and actively participate with the goal of problem solving. That is what the example I have given you. That you are giving a presentation, you are talking on something, you are asking your audience to ask you a question, they are asking you something, you are participating in that. And how can you participate? Only with effective listening. Fine. This is the only way you can participate in that. And that is how you actually give that feeling that you are also a part of that conversation. Now, listeners disconnect himself. Now, in passive listening, listeners disconnect himself from the outsiders and has minimum interaction with others. And so again, with the active listening, strong-willed, interested in new ideas, open-minded. And active listening is a very good, it's a non-verbal communication where you actually can give a very good impression about that you are a person who is very open-minded. You are a person who is very progressive. You are not a closed-minded person. See, if someone, and especially, with the personal life experience, with personal life experience, not my personal life, I'm talking about the personal life experience of yours, that when you are elder person, means if you have your sibling, younger brother or younger sister, so when you're talking to them or they are talking to you, and if you look at them, you nod your head, you give your time, and you listen to them very properly, and then you take their advice, take their words, and then give them your suggestion or solution to the problem. That actually shows that you are such a good person that you are listening to your younger brother or sister or younger friends also. It gives a very good impact about you. And one should be like that one should be very much open minded and should not only pretend to listen and keeping the mind closed, but also listening to the people and also putting the mind open too. It's a strong will, interest in new ideas, and open minded. So passive is narrow minded, low or no willpower. Uh, See, with the passive listening, you can always find out a person who is a passive listener. He or she would have this in mind that one should, uh, being an active listener, one has to pretend. If somebody is pretending to be an active listener, that person cannot contribute into communication. So at the end, you will understand when you will ask that person that, do you have any questions? So suddenly they'll say, no, 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 I agree to whatever you have said, and I do not have any doubt or any question regarding it. That you can easily understand that that person was not actively involved in any conversation. He was passively listening to you, and so anybody else can also understand about you. Active listening is not only just listening and speaking nothing, but also it's speaking and listening and contributing in the conversation. So coming to the another slide, that is take active listeners, they take responsibility of their own learning and growth. Passive is avoid responsibility for learning and problem solving. And active listeners are sharp minded and alert to explore, reflect on information. Obviously, when you are listening to someone with open mindedness, of course, that gives you, that you are a very sharp minded person, you are open to new information, you want to explore, you are very attentive. So, this is all the positive things which comes when you are a active listener. Accepts and retain information, as in, okay, intend to question or challenge the idea of improvement. That is that this example I already told you that a passive listener may act like an active listener, but passive listener would have nothing to contribute in any conversation. So don't be a passive listener, be an active listener, and be good. So these are the references, and this is the disclaimer. And coming to the thank you slide. Thank you. Bye bye.